Madu upon you, all Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the day of Judas. Barakah Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Asherah. Athamanawa. Yawum. Yahweh. Ba'shalom. Tawada. Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the day of Judas and peace. Thank you, so be it. Taha'ayim Ma'ad Asherayim Akkad, Psalm 121. Anya Harayim Ayanyim Ya O Haharim Ma'ayan Yabu'a Isaiah Yabu'a Mayahawa Sha'asha Shamayim Wa'aratiza La'a Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yala'a Yanawam Shashamarka Hana La'a Yanawam Wala'a Yayashun Shashwama Yasharallah Yahweh Shamaria Yahweh Tazalia I am Yad Yum Yum Ya Yawamam Hashemash La'a Hakaya Wayarat La'a Balayala Yahweh Yashamaya Makal Rai Yashamar Napasha Yahweh Yashamar Hawalakia Wabawa'aya Ma'aitha Wa'aid Iwalam Bahasham Yahawasha Tawada Aman.
Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. You will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth even forevermore. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yasharallah, hear, O Israel. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh,
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Stop by Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abi Yanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwithka, Sabaa, Ratazawanka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Nathalanawa, Lakam, Yowum, Zar, Wasalaklanawa, Kabawathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kabawathanawa, Wala'a, Habiyanawa, O Nasayawan, Abo, Hawashinawan, Mara, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Wa'ala, Watha Parath, La'aywalam, Aman.
Matthew 6:9. After this manner, therefore, pray our Father which art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, and forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Ha'ashirah Matazawah after 10 Commandments. La'ah, Yahaya, Lakah, Alahayim, Akarim, Alpanya, La'ah, Daisha, Lakah, Pasol, Wala'ah, Da'ibadam, La'ah, Dalakwaka, Shamwa, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Lashua, Zakar, Ath, Hayawum, Hashabath, Lakodashwa, Kabad, Abiakar, Wa'amaka, La'ah, the Ratazak, La'ah, the Na'ap, La'ah, the Ganab, La'ah, the Aina, Shakwo, La'ah, the Kamad, Ko, Asherah, La Ra'ayaka, Aman.
Exodus 20:2. I am the Lord thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, and the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy maidservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in it is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy power giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. Yeshabah, be seated. Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Parya Hagabin, Thawada Aman, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha'Allah. English translation: Blessed are you, the Most High Power, in the name of Jesus Christ, or Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai with Israel. I mod upon you, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakatah Yahweh, Hagadol, Rakhawam, Abiyah, Wanara'ah, Aliyawan, Malak, Sho, Shamayim, Wa'aratazah, Wako, Dabarim, Kayayam, Wagam, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Arawanawa, Ahabnawa, Hapalah, Zakarnawa, Barataza 1, Izana, Wasap, Yasha'Allah, O, Nanawa, Yum Yun, Aitha, Kayawamyam, Makwadam, Baba Kusha, Shalat, Mayaka'ala, Wahataza Wadak, Allahayim, La, Maganawa, Rapah Noah, Washamar, Al Noah, Ba'akwor, Shalat, Haroka, Sho, Yahweh Shai, Lanawa, Walamad Noah, Rabim, Kakama, Tabawada, Wada'ith, Sho, Dabarka, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Thawada, Thamyad, Wa'iwalam, Aman. English translation. Blessed are you, the most high power, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. And also the anointed from our Lord, from Yahweh, from our Lord and our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people, Israel. Help us build and gather Israel. Most high, we beg you right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us, to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you always and forever. So be it. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Hathawara. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Awar, Lara Awa. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram song to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Korun, Ha'ayah, La Korah, Ha'ain. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Hasheman, Zayath, Lamashak, Yasha Allah. Ishabwa. Be seated.
Right, y'all?
Good. All right, Shalom, Yasha Allah. Peace to all brothers and sisters. Happy day of Judas, or Shah Yawum Yahawada. Those who are on the live stream, listen to the teleconference, and to the brothers and sisters that's here throughout. Again, this is a good day to honor some of our righteous men and women from the past who have done great and valiant acts, stood up for us as a nation, who stood up for the name of the Most High at a time where you had a lot of traitors, a lot of sellouts to the nation. You always had a righteous remnant. So throughout those atrocities, this is what we're going to read in the history during the time of the Greek Empire, where the Romans almost were coming in. We had some righteous men, specifically of Judas Maccabees, of the Maccabean dynasty, that stood up and stood tall for the nation. You know, especially in a day, in a climate where you have a lot of people standing up for different efforts, different
reasons in these last days, whether it's equality, women's rights, racism, sexism, what have you, is always some form of alliance. But here, this was nationalism at its finest, where Israel was trying to defend themselves against the onslaught of the new regime or the new empire that had taken over, right? So we're going to go into scriptures today pertaining to history with Judas Maccabees. Now, normally we read, when we go through the service, we normally read 2 Maccabees, the 14th and the 15th chapter, and we reference that 1 Maccabees, the 7th chapter, kind of tells the same story. So, in the form of equality, I'm going to read 1 Maccabees, the 7th chapter this time, right? And then also make references to what's in 2 Maccabees 14 and 15, right? For this class history on Judas Maccabees. So, as I mentioned before, this is already in the height of the Grecian Empire. You had rulers who had already been sitting on the throne. In particular, as we get into the storyline, one Antiochus Epiphanes, right, who was sitting on the throne, and at this point he had already been taken out by the Most High, and then his son was set up to be next in line, with him having a guardian to watch over him by a man of Lysias. So this man's son, Antiochus Epiphanes, had a son, Antiochus Eupator, who was supposed to sit on the throne. So again, if people know, this is like very intricate when you go into the Maccabees with history, people, dates, time periods, right? There's a lot of things going on. A great Netflix series with about 5 seasons this could be, right? I say about estimate 5 seasons you can get out of this storyline, because there's so much meat in it, right? Because it's a Grecian Empire, but there's other different sects and things that's going on during the Grecian Empire. But our primary focus is Israel and how we fit in during this time period, right? So here along the way, you've already had Mattathias, right, who was Judas and Simon and Jonathan, their father, who started the initial revolution to say, we're not going to stand by and let the Grecian Empire come in and change our culture, change our way of worship, right? So they stood up to fight. But along the way, you had, little small wars that we lost. We lost towers and we lost certain realms. We lost certain regions, but we always had that champion during this time to stand up and fight for us. And this time it was Judas Maccabees, right? So that's what we're going to pick up around the time where Antiochus Epiphanes is already dead. His son Antiochus Eupator is supposed to be sitting on the throne. He's supposed to be guarded by a man named Lysias to help nurture him and build him up. But at that time, another Greek emperor or ruler comes in, not even an emperor, but a ruler, a king comes in, which is by the name of Demetrius. So if you follow the Grecian Empire, sometimes you have certain men have the same names, like Antiochus the first, the second, and it's the same thing with the man Demetrius. There's another one before him and one that comes after him. So in line, we're reading about Demetrius, I believe the second's kingdom coming in, right? So now what we get into is him now coming on the throne and what things he sets in place as he's now coming on the throne. All right. So we're going to start off in 1 Maccabees, the 7th chapter and the 1st verse. So it says, in the 151st year, Demetrius, the son of Seleucus, departed from Rome and came up with a few men unto a city of the seacoast and reigned there. Right. So you go into a little bit of history. He was kind of held captive and he was released around this time. And now he's journeying to reclaim or to claim the throne that he always thought was his. So while he was in Rome being held hostage, someone else took it like it was his throne to be had. So now as he's released, he's now coming to take the throne. It says in the 151st year. So when it says the 151st year, what is it talking about? 151st year. Usually when you read the scriptures, it does a lot in the Kings and the Chronicles. It starts throwing out years. right? So you're throwing out years that kings are ruling, or during the time of an empire.
Would it be the days of AD and BC?
It'd be one of those two. Yeah, it'd be one of those two.
So it would be the time that he was the king.
Who was the king? This guy here?
Yeah, the guy you prefer.
In what empire?
Okay. Maybe that.
Hmm?
You can say it again.
What empire? It was a Greek empire, because I just said it. It was during the time of the Greek Empire, the Grecian Empire, right? So in the 151st year, during the time of the Grecian Empire, here comes a man, Demetrius, the son of Seleucus, to sit on the throne. He was held hostage in Rome, but now he's coming out to go and sit on the throne in Greece, over Greece, right? It says, and came up with a few men unto a city of the seacoast and reigned there. Verse 2. And as he entered into the palace of his ancestors, so it was that his forces had taken Antiochus and Lysias to bring them unto him, right? Because again, as I kind of try to give a brief history, these two were the ones who are now set up. Antiochus Eupator and his guardian, or the governor, who's supposed to now rear him up to be a counselor or an aide until he now is able to function and flex on the throne by himself. So now Demetrius comes in the palace where it says a few good men, right? And now as he enters in the palace, he's saying that this is my ancestry. This is my line. This is my time to rule. So they go and do what? Capture or apprehend Antiochus and Lysias to bring them to Demetrius, because now you can't have a conflict. I think it was last Sabbath, we was talking about what happened with before King Solomon got on the throne. His brother took the reign, or took the rights of being king over Israel, but he wasn't crowned king by his father. He usurped authority to be king, right? But when Solomon became king, there became friction that he knew that, hey, his brother might try to kill him, because he had his own faction of loyal soldiers and priests and things that were with him. And Solomon now had his, and he had the backing of the people. So you kind of understood that he might try to come kill me. And that's his brother. So one would think that, of course, if Antiochus Eupator, who's sitting on the throne, who's not a direct family member to Demetrius, he would definitely want to take him out, right? So that's what they did. They went and captured him. If you pay attention to third world news or stuff that happens overseas in the Middle East or Asia, in the so-called African, do this, take rulership, and then they'll send their factions to go through the neighborhoods, to go through the cities, to go through the towns, to go and find those who had aligned themselves with the predecessor, and they'll take them out. Right?
Maybe like the Indians was over here.
Like
he went back and told the queen that she could go over there and clean house. Yeah.
You gotta come. I'm not following you.
Yeah, my word would be different. When he went back, Crystal went back and told the queen, all he saw was he take all this right here. He said he's sitting all those ships over here, clean house. They got over here and pushed them further, you push them. That's real history.
Right.
Again, like you talk.
Right. Both of them is real history.
Right.
Both of them is real history. However, I understand what you're speaking about. It's a little bit different, but I understand what you're saying.
How much different?
Because this is about kings ruling on thrones, right?
What the Indians over here ruling on thrones?
Well, this wasn't in that sense of them ruling on thrones as much it was them coming over to enslave them and take their land, as opposed to this person now saying, hey, I'm Greek, he's Greek, but he shouldn't be there because I want it, right? It's always usually a joust for power. Esau has a lot of that throughout their empires. You know, they're ruling, but someone always wants to be on the top and sit on the throne. So they have some infighting. This was more so infighting as opposed to this nation coming to take over and conquer another nation. That's why it's a little bit different in context. So I'm gonna read again, verse 3. it says, verse 2, and as he entered into the palace of his ancestors, so it was that his forces had taken Antiochus and Lysias to bring them unto him. Wherefore, when he knew it, he said, let me not see their faces. So his host slew them. Now when Demetrius was set upon the throne of his kingdom. So they went and captured him, was going to bring them to Demetrius to pretty much say what we want to do with them. But before they even get there, he says, I don't even want to see their faces. Get them out of here, which is pretty much, you know, another way of saying kill them. And I don't want to get rid of the bodies or do whatever you need to do with them. Right. So now he's on the throne. Now it's his kingdom, his empire, right? For that rate, for that realm. It says, there came unto him all the wicked and ungodly men of Israel, having alchemists, who was desirous. How do you usually say that word, that name, Nabiyah? Alchemist. Verse 5, alchemist, come. Alchemist who was desirous to be high priest for their captain, right? So here is a man who was within Israel, Levite, who wants to be high priest, to have the high authority position within the nation for the priesthood. But he was amongst the wicked, ungodly men, one who we would call traitors to your own people for position and authority, right? Wasn't one who was following the Most High's word, but still wanted to wear the garments, still wanted to wear the mitre or the mitre on top of his head and conduct all of the priestly, godly rituals and things that was given to him by or Israel by commandment. But now he's aligning himself with Demetrius, right? Because one would think that he wouldn't have gotten that position anyway because he was wicked, right? He wouldn't have been given that anointing to say he's going to be the next high priest. So in his mind, he probably figures that he should have it, but he's corrupt. So the only other way that he can probably go and get it is go to another corrupt person, which is the nations, the heathen, to see if he can give him that authority or that license to sit upon that seat of being high priest. It says, read it again, there came unto him all the wicked and ungodly men of Israel, having alchemists who was desirous to be high priests for their captain. And they accused the people to the king, saying, Judas and his brethren have slain all thy friends and driven us out of our own land. Right. So now they're putting a smear campaign out on Judas, who's a defender of the nations, but now they're making him, or they're being an accuser against him, who's fighting for the nation to the heathen. Right. He's saying he went out there and slew all your allies. Right. All the people who you was in confederacy with, he's trying to get rid of them. So it says here in verse 7, now therefore send some man whom thou trustest, and let him go and see what havoc he hath made among us and in the king's land, and let him punish them with all them that aid them. Right. So he's pretty much saying, go send your army, but send a captain to go and check out what's going on. And when he finds out what has happened, let him now put a military onslaught against Judas and them to take them out. Right. So this is an Israelite saying it's to a heathen to come and do that to Israelites. Right. Usually they'll say, you know, if I'm trying to do something and defend my people and you don't agree, just step out of the way. Right. Don't go and, you know, accuse me against our common enemy. Right. Just so you can get a position. Just step out the way. If you have another way, okay, go about it your way. But don't, you know, don't become an ally and sell out and now go and try to get everyone taken out so that you can get your position or you can get your glory. Verse 8, it says, then the king chose Bacchides, a friend of the king, who ruled beyond the flood and was a great man in the kingdom and faithful king, right? So we chose one of the people who we knew was a good friend of his, but also a good warrior, right? Someone who was a captain or who could fight when he sent them out into battles, right? Very well known amongst the empire, within that realm. It says, and he sent with that wicked alchemist, whom he had made high priest, and commanded that he should take vengeance of the children of Israel. So all those people who looked down on alchemists, right, who thought he was worthless, he was wicked, called him names, said you'll never be high priest, whatever, right? He now is going to come back with this man Bacchides and his army to now go and try to seek revenge on them, and now him being made high priest, right? Him getting that anointing from Demetrius, not from Israel, right? It didn't come from the predecessor that said that now you're going to be the next in line. He's giving him that authority. So now he's coming to do the same thing that Demetrius did, usurp authority over someone else who was high priest, right? It says in verse 10, so they departed and came with a great power into the land of Judea, where they sent messengers to Judas and his brethren with peaceable words deceitfully, right? That's a common tactic, right? That, you know, try to have someone put their guard down, right? Be at comfort or at ease with you, when all the while you plotting to see them show their hand, or allow them to see, you know, what they have within their arsenal or whatever. You come with the waving the white flag, right? Back then, and even today, there's really no honor in war anymore. It is all tactics to gain the upper hand. We see that now in politics. It's all about using a covert action to get what you need to get. This is no different, right? Then what's going on now is not the first time, not going to be the last, to be able to now come with a front in order to gain the upper hand. Verse 11. But they gave no heed to their words, for they saw that they were come with a great power. So as they're coming and talking, you know, hey, everything is good. How you doing? You know, peace, peace. You know, we just coming to break bread with you and this, that, and the third. But they seeing this whole army. They're like, yo, if you come in in peace, you don't need all them people, right? That's the same thing when you read later on when Jonathan when Jonathan was the captain of the host. It is the same thing to him. It was like, why you got all these people? No, you don't need them. Send those guys back. It's just nothing, right? It's just a lie. It's a tactic to kind of, you know, get the strength in numbers so that you don't need to have a good match, right? It's not going to be a good 1-for-1. The odds is against you. But in this case, it was like, nah, man, you got a lot of folks. There's a lot of people back there. We're hearing a lot of things about people in different areas too. It's like, nah, I hear what you're saying, but we're going to be prepared, right? Verse 12. Then did there assemble unto alchemists and Bacchides a company of scribes to require justice, right? So remember, alchemist he's an Israelite, right? So now he's coming to Israel and coming with the ulterior motive. But these men, these are the priests, they see alchemists. They're like, oh, he's cool. He's one of ours. So they come to, you know, have a little conversation with him, heart to heart, find out what's going on. What's the purpose of this meeting? It says, now the Assyrians were the first among the children of Israel that sought peace of them, right? So these were people who are valiant for the law and for our people as well, right? Righteous men within the nation that went by the title, the name of Assyrians. So they're the first ones to come out to engage alchemists, Bacchides, and the onslaught of people that they had to kind of, you know, seek peace. Everything is cool. It says, for said they, one that is a priest of the seed of Aaron is come with this army, and he will do us no wrong, right? Because he's of that Levitical lineage, right? He's from Aaron's line. He's not a high priest, but he's a priest, even though he's been given that title by Bacchides, or Demetrius, I should say. Verse 15. It says, so he spake unto them peaceably and swear unto them, saying, we will procure the harm neither of you nor your friends. Whereupon they believed him, right? So he says, hey, we're not going to come and hurt you. Everything is going to be fine, right? Like the scriptures say, their words were smoother than butter. So now here it is. What is it? I think it's Psalms 12. Give me 1 second. It's not 12. The righteous is more excellent. Is it 12? 12:24? I think it's 12:26. Oh, I'm saying Psalms. I think it's Proverbs. Proverbs 12, yeah. Yeah. Proverbs 12:26, where it says, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, right? So Israel as a whole are more excellent than his neighbors. Then the Most High has raised up 2 tribes out of the nation who holds prestigious positions. One as far as for the line of Judah, who's the kings, and then the other who was the line of Levite, who hold the priesthood, right? So we are a more excellent nation than anyone else, right? But it says the way of the wicked seduceth them. So here it is, you got alchemists who became wicked along with those who are in alliance with him, who now has come with this whole army to come and try to take out his own people. So now when you have other righteous men come and say, oh, this guy is a priest, man, he won't harm us. Then to have the same man and say, no, we're not going to harm you. We're not going to do anything to you. Everything is good, right? To have those words be exchanged. And now you have the heathen who go out and they do all different types of, acts to different nations, and they conquering and they doing different things, but it's all deceitfully. So as you see different nations come up in the ranks deceitfully, sometimes what happens is we see that and we figure if that's how you need to get to money or position or power, we're going to just fit in, right? Get in where you fit in. So now here it is, alchemists and them doing the same thing. They're becoming wicked, deceitful men in order to gain position and power.
Judge not according to him,
regardless
if it's an Israelite or not.
Mm-hmm.
Not judge according to him.
Right. Scripture say, try the spirit by the spirit, right? So in the same way how we was talking, I think, last Sabbath about when you're trying to help somebody out, the scripture says, make sure you know to who you're doing good to, right? You got to judge by the spirit. If you see them coming, with a whole army, and this man was already reputable as being wicked, just because he's a priest, you can't trust him. Right? You can't trust. So you have to be very cautious. You got to be circumspect in all things, especially when someone has a history of doing certain things that's wicked, right? I heard the saying today where it says when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them, right? So if this man's reputation precedes him, you should have believed him and not trust him just because he's saying, no, everything is good, right? Same way it was like, oh, no, we ain't going to just take their word for it. They should have saw that he was with them and kind of just said, I hear what you're saying, but we're gonna be a little bit careful with this one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's always a case because on the surface, most folks present what do they call it? A representative, right? You kind of have an image of what you want to project just to get the seat or get the position. And then once you have it, it's like, all right, now I'm here, right? You voted me in. Now I'm here. Now I can go out there and put in place all my ideas and practices and politics that I wanted to do, right? That you probably never asked me about, or I was just slick enough to avoid coming direct, right? So let's go back to Maccabees. So we have I'm gonna read verse 16 again. It says, whereupon they believed him, howbeit he took of them 70 men and slew them in one day, according to the words which he wrote. So it says 70 men was killed that day. And we went through this car. When it says 70, what's 70 mean? Three score. What's a score? Who was that? Abe Lincoln's speech? Was it Abe Lincoln's? Yeah, 4 score and yeah. So a score, whenever you hear score in context of metrics or numbers, when it talks about a score, it's talking about 20. A score is equivalent to 20. There you go. And if it's 3 score, it's 3 times 20, which is 60. So 60 men were slain in that one day, trusting Alchemist that he would do them no harm. Right? That was a lie. It says, the flesh of thy saints have they cast out, and their blood have they shed round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them. Right? Which is a sad case when you have, you know, so that type of a massacre and the bodies just lay out there like that in the streets. And these are righteous men. These are the Hasidians who were valiant for the law, but now they got murdered and there's no one to leave them a memorial. And usually what happens, you know, if you have no one to bury or give you a honest grave, then you're left to scavengers. You got vultures and all different kind of things that come out there and eat your body. Yeah, right. So we'll see the same thing, kind of a little bit in the service this morning in Tobit, where you know you had Tobit who wouldn't allow that. He went and buried men. Like if he found out that certain men was murdered or killed in the city by the nations, he would go and give them a proper burial, right? Because that was something that, you know, we always wanted to have especially for a righteous man. If you was a wicked individual, like during the time of Josiah, he went and tore down your stuff, stamped it. It's like he stamped it to dust, to powder. He's like, there should be no memorial for someone who's wicked. Why we want to remember them? Huh? I mean, yeah, they would leave. I mean, if you were back then in times where this was not your rest and you're in another empire's land, they would do this. But this is within our own land, right? This is within our own country.
They would leave a person in the middle of the street like that.
Yeah, yeah. So you got to keep in mind sometimes when you're in a strait or when you're in an environment where it's hostile, where folks are not easily to just move freely. Because keep in mind, alchemists came with Piccards and what? A whole army, right? They came with a whole bunch of people. So once they come and they start killing people, what are the rest of the people going to do? They're going to run. They're going to seek shelter. They're going to try to save themselves. So as they leave and they killing, they leaving their body there and they moving on, right? So that's why there's no one to bury. It wasn't like they were just looking for certain people. They was just taking anyone that was there that was going to be in their way to stop what their initiative was. So that's why it says nobody was there to bury them. You can link that up with Psalms. It's not already in your precepts. Psalms chapter 79.
You got precepts in the positive?
Yeah, yeah. Well, not in the red one, but there's Bibles with the books of the Apocrypha that have precepts.
That was verse 18?
17. Psalm 79, 2-3.
Fine. The dead bodies of thy servants, and they given to be meat unto the clouds of the heavens, the flesh of the saints unto the beasts of the earth.
Right. So it says the dead bodies of their servants have they given to be meat. Why? Because again, their bodies was going to be left out in the street. It's like sometimes if you driving somewhere on a road and you see a deer on the road got hit by a car, right? The dead body is left on the side of the road. eventually a vulture or a scavenger is going to come and start picking at that body, right? So that's what they're saying when these nations came and
they doing that today ain't cooking.
yeah, well,
no, today I look at food channel.
No, I don't know about if they're doing that on Food Channel, but I know I mentioned it before a couple times. They have a roadkill festival.
Yeah.
That they do in Virginia.
Out,
yeah, roadkill festival. All right.
I look at food channels. I'm telling you. Yeah. They scoop them up.
This one of my old bosses told me about it. He went to it.
Oh, you missed the red there, boy.
And you know, he'll describe it like he going to a barbecue. Like going to a regular barbecue. But read that again.
Two again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The dead bodies of our servants, have they given to be meat unto the flowers of the heaven, the flesh of thou saints unto the beasts of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Their blood have they shed like water round about Jerusalem,
mm-hmm.
and there was none to bury them.
Right, there you go. Same thing. There was none to bury.
Yahweh, I got to start calling. Listen here. His name ain't God. That's a pagan name. Yahweh. I hear you and him and Kafai. Y'all don't call him God. Y'all say, what's the name you call God?
Yahweh.
Yahweh, what you call him? Would you call him Kafai? I said, oh yeah, I'm listening to that thing.
All right.
That's what they call Yahweh. So to bury them. Yeah, they
right.
do that right now today. They scoop in Jersey, Oklahoma, the Midwest.
Yeah, what's that brother? I think it's I forget the brother's name that they can't find his body. They said he's dead. Like it was within a matter of hours. It went from like one thing until they said he's dead, he's at the morgue, but then they can't even find him. Yeah. Yeah, they don't know where his body's at. Yeah. Yeah. So it was definitely what do they call it? Foul play that happened while he was in prison. And then they tried to cover their tracks. Yeah. So they tried to cover tracks and say, oh yeah, he had some injuries, and they took him somewhere, and then he was released from there. No, he went there, and then within an hour he died. Then he was taken from there to somewhere like the morgue. Then they don't know where he's at. He just gone? Like how you just lose a body? How you just lose a body? Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back to 1 Maccabees 7. We at the 18 now. It says, wherefore all the people who said, there is neither truth nor righteousness in them, for they have broken the covenant and oath that they made, right? So you can't trust them, right? So everybody was fearful of what they was going to do, right? They said one thing, but then did another, right? So all their agreements and all their words can't be taken for face value. It says, verse 19, after this removed Bakaj from Jerusalem, and he pitched his tents in Bezath, where he sent and took many of the men that had forsaken him, and certain of the people also. And when he had slain them, he cast them into the great pit, right? So, what is that verse in Hebrews? Let me get that in Hebrews real quick. I think it's Hebrews 12. Yep, Hebrews 12 and 4.
Okay. Y'all with me? Hebrews 12, 4. Ye, or yea, ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin.
Right. Ye have not resisted. The work, the trial that we doing here, and just trying to keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, to be good servants, good shepherds. It's not like we got a gun to our head or a knife to our throat, right? in order to just be in here and do it. Whereas we're not in the same times where to stand up for these laws, stand up for righteousness, they're seeking us to kill us, right? Now, what's interesting, we are living in a time where they are killing us, right? We just talked about the brother who just went missing. There's always different instances of different people who are just popping up. Mysteriously, something happened. I think it was Sandra Bland that said, "Oh, the same cell that she was in. Now, something that happened to somebody else." Yeah. It's like, man, these is really coincidences, huh? Right? So we have a lot of things going on within Israel to Jake, but for us, we have not begun to strive to blood. So when we read things like, here it is, Bakads and these men are going through the city and killing people who are siding on the side or cautioning on the side of righteousness, that's not what we are facing right now, right? Where they're coming through the cities and they're looking for Zakar, and they say, yeah, you said what? Yahweh, he's one of them, right? There'd be a few Peters out there. Who, me? I don't know what you're talking about. But in today's era, we're not dealing with that to that degree. But it is a reflection of what we're reading here in Maccabees, that was the climate back then, where they were going city to city, or you had the heathens or those who were in power at that time killing Israelites, killing those who were righteous. Not even just Israelites, because you had some who was wicked who was signing with them, and it was fine, it was cool. But anyone who was cautioned on the side of righteousness with the Most High to keep his commandments, you was in jeopardy, right? That's why it says we wasn't striving, we wasn't resistant unto blood like it was back then, right? We've gotten that grace from Yahweh Shah has given us a bit of a comfort blanket where we can learn and fail and get back right without having to be physically touched by Satan or chastised unto death, right? So that was Hebrews 12 and 4. Let's go back to Maccabees. Hebrews 12 and 4 is what I just read. We was reading that with 19. Right. So I'm gonna read 19 again. It says, after this removed Bakads from Jerusalem and pitched his tent in Bezeth, where he sent and took many of the men that had forsaken him, and certain of the people also. And when he had slain them, he cast them into the great pit. Of course, Alchemist was there pointing people out, right? He was there pointing people out. It says, then committed he the country to Alchemists and left him a power to aid him. So Bakads went to the king. So after that, right, he's like, after I've subdued and put things in place, you now are high priest. You are pretty much like governor over the home realm, right? Not king, because Demetrius is king, but you are now like ruler over this realm while I go back and I speak with the king, right? And he left him his own army, right? That's where it says, left him a power to aid him. So now he's got a heathen army to back him. It says in verse 21, but Alchemists contended for the high priesthood. So even though he was given this title by Demetrius, it wasn't ordained by Israel, the Levitical priesthood. So he's still now wanting to take that seat, to be able to go into the temple and almost, because once he gets in the temple, what's going to happen, right? It's not like he's going to go and conduct the order of the high priesthood. He's going to do like what other wicked men did, go in there, start taking the holy artifacts from out of the temple, doing other things with them that was not ordained to be done, right? Because that's what that spirit causes folks to do, is to be vain in their position of their power. So it says again, but Alchemists contended for the high priesthood, and unto him resorted all such as troubled the people, who, after they had gotten the land of Judah into their power, did much hurt in Israel, right? So as he now is receiving this power, there's others who are going to be like him, probably on a lower position, but they're wanting to see what position they can get. So they now are aligning themselves with alchemists and then going out and doing the same thing, selling out their own people, committing them to be slain, right? Treacherous times.
Yes.
Very treacherous times. It's one thing to have the nations do it, but when you have your own, that's even worse, right?
Yeah.
Because now
they're supposed to know better.
they're supposed to know better.
You know, I got a friend, he should know better, but he just keep going out there. He's doing the same thing.
Right.
Keep reading,
that's like sometimes we kind of upset of our own people. They're worse than Esau. They're worse than the nations, right? They'll treat you more harshly than they would do. And you can't understand it, right? And that same type spirit of mentality is them trying to elevate or gain the ranks to get a position. They want to be supervisor. They want to be this. They want to be that to get more money. So in order to do that, we sell each other out. Yeah. Right. Keep in mind, that's that same Willie Lynch type theory where two people can't be there at the top. Right. Two people not going to be able to rise together. Only one's going to get it. So if only one's going to get it, I got to bring you back down, crabs in the barrel mentality. I can't allow you to be up there with me because they're only going to allow one. So we always fighting against each other. We're always doing infighting, right? Okay. It says in verse 23, now when Judas saw all the mischief that Alchemist and his company had done among the Israelites, even above the heathen, he went out into all the coasts of Judea round about and took vengeance of them that had revolted from him, so that they durst no more go forth into the country, right? So after he's seen what was going down by those of his own people, he went out there and started to get vengeance upon them, right? So that would not continue to happen within his own country by his own people. So now he went out and started to slay them and take them out, right? Righteously, right?
Okay, he went out there to tell them, that's enough. Stop doing what y'all doing. Oh, he started killing them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, that was part of it. He had to kill him. You had to start slow on it. What you say? Yeah. Oh, I'm going to kill you. Yeah. I'm going to be so vicious with my words.
Yeah.
Stop.
Because remember, this man, Alchemist, and those who are with him, he had a power from the nations. He had an army with him. So of course now, because he has a backing from the king, he's not thinking that his position should be usurped by Judas and them. So now Judas realizes this. He's like, look, I'm going to go up to take them out, right? This is no different from going all the way back to the beginning when, what's his name, Phineas and them threw the javelin. Once you see someone is going against the Most High's commandments, if it's Israel, they got to be taken out, right? Many times you'll see that in the scriptures where Israel had to kill or take out another Israelite because they was going against the Most High's commandments or going against their own people, especially those who are righteous. Yeah. Right.
I with you, man. Oh, Jesus over here.
So verse 24 again, it says, he went out into all the coasts of Judea round about and took vengeance of them that had revolted from him, so that they durst no more go forth into the country. On the other side, when Alchemist saw that Judas and his company had gotten the upper hand and knew that he was not able to abide their force, he went again to the king and said all the worst of them that he could, right? So, yeah. Here it is again, Demetrius. I told you, he's out there. He's out there getting rid of all your friends, all those who align themselves with you. He's killing them again, right? So now you got to come with a bigger and better army to go and fight against Judas, right? It says, verse 26, then the king sent Nicanor, one of his honorable princes, a man that bare deadly hate unto Israel, with commandment to destroy the people, right? So Bakaz was good for the moment, but now I'm going to get someone else who bear deadly hate that would want to wipe out all Israel if he was given the opportunity and chance, right? It says, so Nicanor came to Jerusalem with a great force and sent unto Judas and his brethren deceitfully with friendly words, saying, so again, the same thing. Every time is always wave the white flag, come with peace and politics. Let's sit down and break bread, have some sip of wine, right? When all it means is I'm trying to get you to put your guard down and then show your cards, right? Let me see what you have and everything else. So Nicanor's campaign is the same as what Pekah's had. It says, let there be no battle between me and you. I will come with a few men that I may see you in peace. He came therefore to Judas, and howbeit saluted one another peaceably. Howbeit the enemies were prepared to take away Judas by violence, right? So he came to him, but he observed and seen what was going on. Now, I'm going to jump the second Maccabees, the 14th chapter. This is first Maccabees. I'm going to jump to second Maccabees, the 14th chapter. I'm going to jump down to verse 18. Second Maccabees 14, verse 18, right? Right. So keep in mind, Second Maccabees 14 and 15 are a little bit expanded of what we're reading in First Maccabees 7. So like I said at the beginning, we normally read 14 and 15, but I'm gonna give justice to First Maccabees 7 for tonight's class, right? But I'm gonna read this in Second Maccabees 14, 18. It says, nevertheless, Nicanor, hearing of the manliness of them that were with Judas, and the courageousness that they had to fight for their country, durst not try the matter by sword. So this is like when we first just read over here that he came with peaceable words, right? So it gives context because he already heard of Judas's reputation. Man, these guys is courageous how they defend their country. So he didn't want to initially come in with weapons of warfare to come fight, right? He wanted to come and see this man as a man, right? It says, wherefore he sent Posidonius and Theodotus and Mattathias to make peace. So when he had taken long advisement thereupon, and the captain had made the multitude acquainted therewith, and it appeared that they were all of one mind, they consented to the covenants, right? So this is the politics he came with Judas. He sent folks there, they had long discussions, and after a while, they believed them, right? Now they had a kind of a peaceful discord amongst each other. So it says, and appointed a day to meet together, to meet in together by themselves. And when the day came, and stools were set for either of them. So these are two like real warriors, right? Nicanor, who has reputation for one who hates Israel. Then you have Judas, right? Who is the defender, right? The hammer for Israel. Now they've set it up where they're on two different areas, two different stools, right? To come and sit opposite each other. Normally that's what usually happens when you have people who go to other countries or go to other realms and they want to sit with a dictator. It's like, all right, fine, we're going to let them two sit and talk it out. Like look into each other's eyes and figure things out if they can come to some type of an agreement or alliance. But it says here, verse 22, Judas placed armed men ready in convenient places, lest some treachery should be suddenly practiced by the enemies. So they made a peaceful conference. So even though they had set this up, Judas was still on guard, right? He had men there waiting in the lurches so that if something happened, they could jump out and aid in a battle. Verse 23, Now Nicanor abode in Jerusalem and did no hurt, but sent away the people that came flocking unto him. So now with this conference that they going on, time is transpiring, right? They had the meeting. He's dwelling there now. Some of those who are with him or who's trying to come in line, he like, nah, sending them away. Because Nicanor himself is getting comfortable in Jerusalem with Judas, right? So much so, it says this, and he would not willingly have Judas out of his sight, for he loved the man from his heart, right? Because sometimes when you know there's a good battle or warrior on the opposite end of you, you have respect for them.
You're right.
So Nicanor now gained a lot of respect and adoration for Judas.
Right.
So now his campaign that he was supposed to go there to go and kill Judas has changed and shifted, because now he has found a newfound respect for what he had heard, right? That's like somebody who, you know, can play ball real good, but you're the best thing. And all of a sudden you see him, you're like, oh, that's the dude who and then you get cool with him. But all the while, initially, you was like, I'm gonna break his ankles. I'm about to go take him out on the court. But when you see him, y'all become cool. Now you got your entourage with you. They like, yo, man, what you doing? You're supposed to be going one-on-one, taking him out, and you over here drinking soda pop and everything with him. Yeah, nah, I'm cool. Y'all leave, right? So this is what's happening now with Nicanor and Judas. So in 2 Maccabees 14, and I'm gonna read 24 again. It says, and he would not willingly have Judas out of his sight, for he loved the man from his heart. So he always wanted to be around Judas, right? Everywhere Judas was going, he wanted to be there too. Hey, we're gonna have we're gonna set up a dinner or some kind of a banquet. Oh, y'all going over there? Oh, we're gonna go over there too. He always wanted to be around Judas. Verse 25, he prayed him also to take a wife and to beget children. So he married, was quiet, and took part of this life. So this is why I said time is transpiring. So as we're reading it, it seems like it's like happening all within a day, but no, time is going on, right? He's now sent out to go and take this campaign, but now probably a month, 2, 3 is going by, and they chup buddy. Verse 26, but Alchemists, perceiving the love that was betwixt them, and considering the covenants that were made, came to Demetrius and told him that Nicanor was not well affected toward the state, for that he had ordained Judas, a traitor to his realm, to be the king's successor, right? So he went to go and report and say, look, this guy who you sent, he ain't doing what you sent him to do.
Yeah,
right? He done got buddy with the same guy that we done called a traitor. Right? One who's going to try to usurp your crown and take your throne. Verse 27, it says, then the king, being in a rage and provoked with the accusations of the most wicked man, wrote to Nicanor, signifying that he was much displeased with the covenants, and commanded him that he should send Maccabeus prisoner in all haste unto Antioch. So with all that stuff you got going over there, you got to cut that out. Apprehend him and send him in chains back to Antioch, right? This is the new commandments that's being laid down. It says, verse 28, when this came to Nicanor's hearing, he was much confounded in himself, and took it grievously that he should make void the articles which were agreed upon, the man being in no fault. So now when the news comes, he's now conflicted, because he done made, you know, a friend, so to speak. Like he done respected the man. He don't see, he's like, yo, this guy's fighting for his own country. I would do the same thing. So now as they're now forming a bond, here comes down the order.
Would that be the wrong friend?
It's the wrong friend.
Oh,
you shouldn't.
Like Rodney, my friend.
Right.
All right.
Right. But in this context, in this context, right, nation to nation, he shouldn't have been, because his whole agenda was to come and kill him like he had did the Assyrians, right? So it says here in verse 29, but because there was no dealing against the king, he watched his time to accomplish the thing by policy. Notwithstanding, when Maccabeus saw that Nicanor began to be churlish unto him, and that he entreated him more roughly than he was wont, perceiving that such sour behavior came not of good, he gathered together not a few of his men and withdrew him. right? So he began to see the spirit change in Nicanor over time. But again, time has passed. He was cool, and now his spirit is coming back at him. So Judas is recognizing it. He's saying, "Listen, we got to get out of here. We got to leave him alone, because if we don't, if we have our guard down, he's going to come and apprehend us and might kill us." So this is where Judas separates himself from Nicanor. So when we go back to 1 Maccabees 7, right, and we pick up from where we're at in verse 30, this is where this is coming from.
1 Maccabees 7.
1 Maccabees 7 and 30.
30. Oh, wait, go.
No, what we read in 2 Maccabees 14, 18, all the way to 29. This is linking up with verse 30, 29 and 30 in 1 Maccabees 7.
Yeah, we're going to 1 Maccabees 7:30.
Right.
All right. That's page 124. In red book. I just learned to cuss and the other thing. You know, I ain't paying for y'all. Cuss.
Maccabees 7
and 30. So in verse 30 in 1 Maccabees 7 chapter, it says, "Which thing after it was known to Judas, to wit, that he came unto him with deceit, he was so afraid of him and would see his face no more. Nicanor also, when he saw that his counsel was discovered, went out to fight against Judas beside Kafar Salama, where there were slain of Nicanor's side about 5,000 men, and the rest fled into the city of David," right? So once it was known by Nicanor that Judas separated himself and realized that now there was no more friendship betwixt them, and he had now just received orders from Demetrius, from the king, because alchemists had now went and spread these false accusations about Judas. Now he had to go and re-engage with his campaign to try to apprehend and or kill Judas. But in that onslaught, 5,000 of his own men got killed. Right? And then they fled throughout into the city of David. It says in verse 33, "After this went Nicanor up to Mount Zion, and there came out of the sanctuary certain of the priests and certain of the elders of the people to salute him peaceably and to show him the burnt sacrifice that was offered for the king." So remember, we still under rulership of the Greeks.
Right now.
So at this time that all this is going on, everybody doesn't know what's going on at the same time. Right? Like if something just happened in a certain realm, it's not like today social media. You hop on your social media, Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media thing that everybody's on. We didn't have that, right? This was back in before we even had telephones and before we had the mail carriers, before it was pictures. You had to get on a horse and ride to go tell somebody, or you can't horse and carriage, right? Pony Express. So now they see him coming. They thinking, oh, this is, you know.
How many days can went by until you get there?
Exactly. It's a lot of time that transpired between them moving throughout different areas. But remember, he's now in the city of David, Mount Zion. So while he's fleeing from the battle, he now comes upon the temple. The priests come out thinking this is just another visit. And they're showing him the offers that they put up for the king, right? Because they're under their rule. So this is what he's now seeing, but he's kind of burnt because they just lost about 5,000 men, right? Because of Judas, right? So he ain't coming on a happy occasion. He's upset, right? So it says, verse 34, "But he mocked them and laughed at them and abused them shamefully and spake proudly and swear in his wrath, saying, Unless Judas and his host be now delivered into my hands, if ever I come again in safety, I will burn up this house." And with that, he went out in a great rage. So now as they're coming out peaceably to kind of, show off the different sacrifices and things that they have prepared for the king, he now is in a rage. He don't care about the sacrifices. He don't care about what their objective is. He's now saying, y'all better give me Judas. And if you don't give me Judas, everything that you see here, all this stuff that you bring before me, I'm going to destroy it all, right? And he's doing it very vehemently towards the priests, and he's talking about destroying one of the most holiest relics in the world, right? It tells you that in the beginning of Maccabees, that as the most holiest temple the world round. There's nothing. So you may see a lot of vainglorious things, but there's nothing that has as much merit, sentimental value, has much connection to the Most High than that. Why? Because remember, this was started because the Most High gave commandment on how he wanted things to be set up for the people to worship him. Everything else has been inspired by man. This came by inspiration of the Most High, or guidance of the Most High, right? So that's why this has a whole different feel to it. But now, here it is, where this man, because of his direction to go and kill Judas, and it's not going well, has vowed to go and destroy the people and the temple, right? If he goes out and finds Judas on his own, he's going to come back and wipe everything out himself, right? I think it reminds me of, was that Nebuchadnezzar or Nebuchadnezzar, where he was going out to fight, and at the time Israel was an ally to him, but Israel didn't want to go fight. And then he said, all right, when I come back from fighting them, I'm gonna come back and deal with y'all, because y'all don't want to come fight with me. Y'all don't want to now help, right? Which, you know, usually is the case for any superpower that has conquered someone, and now they have said, okay, instead of me wiping you out, if you join my army, you can go and do, you know, live in your land, do what you want to do, but you got to pay tribute to me. But if I go fight, you got to also come help me when I call on you, right? So they sometimes bring in soldiers from those nations to build up their army, right? Even we did it, right? We had, you know, few heathen soldiers within David's army, right? That when we conquered them and we went out.
America gonna fight war. They made everybody fight like Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm.
They said I'd rather stay here. Rather
Yeah.
go to fight war for y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of like what happened with Israel back then during the time of Nebuchadnezzar. It was like I'll bring it up during the
Right, I'm giving class next week.
during the break. I think I put it on the chat. I don't know if I put that one on the chat. I put Steve Harvey's on there, but they had the counter for his, which was the Muhammad Ali interview, but he was
Who's Steve Harvey?
oh yeah, we'll talk about it during we'll talk about it during the
break.
break.
I got one more for you. We're gonna I'm gonna bring it up and just ask you, about how they sell their souls. You know, like actors, NBA ball players, over how they sell their souls. They're in the nice class here. They do it to have that glory for a short period of time.
Okay. Right. The scriptures say, envy not the oppressor, nor choose none of his ways. Envy makes you do a lot of those things
you don't have to do.
Yeah. So that's what happens.
Yeah. That's rough,
envy. When you envy someone, you want to copy or do whatever it is that they do to gain the same thing that they have. Right. And the bad part about that is a lot of our people have been ostracized, physically assaulted, killed, raped, whatever, for the.
They about to kill R. Kelly now.
Well, that's a bit different. That was a bit different. Yeah, that was a bit different. We'll talk about that one later too. Yeah.
There's a new one here. VHS now. He is DVD. He is technology now. What's the new thing they got?
Yeah.
Yeah. That means she was 1 year old when she was listening to that. 3 years old. I'm sorry. Thanks, class.
Yeah, let's get back.
Rodney, leave that alone.
So I'm gonna read verse 35 again. It says, and swear in his wrath, saying, unless Judas and his host be not delivered into my hands, if I ever come again in safety, I will burn up this house. And with that, he went out in a great rage. Then the priest entered in and stood before the altar and the temple, weeping and saying, thou, O Lord, didst choose this house to be called by thy name, and to be a house of prayer and petition for thy people. Be avenged of this man and his host, and let them fall by the sword. Remember their blasphemies, and suffer them not to continue any longer. So they went in and set up a quick prayer about the sanctity of the temple itself and what this man's campaign is to kind of come and destroy it and the people, right? So withhold him from what he wants to do or bring destruction upon him. Verse 39, it says, so Nicanor went out of Jerusalem and pitched his tents in Beth Horon, where an host out of Syria met him, right? So now it is, he's coming back again to re-engage in the war, in the battle, because he went out at one point, lost a good portion of his men. Now he's regrouping and coming back. It says, but Judas pitched in Adasa with 3,000 men, and there he prayed, saying, O Lord, when they that were sent from the king of the Assyrians blasphemed, thine angel went out and smote 180,500 of them. 180. That's a lot of people. How many is that, Awa? There you go. 185,000 was slain by the angel of the Most High, right? Israel didn't have to lift a finger, right? That's when you know the Most High is real, when he can go and fight for you, right?
Back in numbers, he did a lot of that too.
Yeah. So in this case, you know, he remembers.
65,000.
He remembered that, you know, those who come and they speak against the Most High himself can come down and fight for his own name. So this is what the priest, Judas is remembering, not the priest, but Judas is remembering what happened in the past. So you can read about that in 2 Kings, the 19th chapter.
Okay, where we at? 2 Kings 19.
Let's link it with 41.
19. Cut. First King, chapter 19.
So I'm gonna start at verse 32.
1932. Wait a minute, is that First King?
2 Kings.
I know he told me the wrong chapter. He did. He do math. 32. Therefore, 30. You want me to read? You want to read?
I'll read.
All right.
So 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 32. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with the shield, nor cast a bank against it. By the way that he came, by the same shall he return, and shall not come into this city, saith Yahweh. For I will defend this city to save it for mine own sake, and for my servant David's sake. And it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went out and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 180,500. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpse. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh. And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, that Adramelech and Sherazar, his sons smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia, where Kim Kardashian is from.
Yeah,
And
the Khazar, right? The Khazar? No. You know, in the Bible, I look for the Khazar. That's our people. The Khazar. Was my man blowing the horn for him and his wife?
I got rich the church for that.
Oh, yeah, the church. Yeah.
So she's a Jew?
Yeah, no, she's Jewish.
Jewish.
Right. Yeah, Jewish.
No.
Yeah, they close. They ain't close enough.
No, because you know what? Because remember we was watching that documentary they had on Netflix, and they show the Armenians have a big sect in Jerusalem, as far as for laying claim to them being like around the time when Yahushua was there or in the past. So they, along with the traditional Amalekites, and then some of the Muslims, they have a big contingency over there in the land of Israel too. You don't hear about it too much, but like when they start going to the different sections within Jerusalem and by the different gates, they have a big contingency there too. Right. Right.
Arabs. They close to the Arabs. Yeah, but they not close to the
on our table of nations.
No.
They be Arabs.
Mm-mm.
They rich though. They be Arabs and they rich. Because her father and them.
We gotta confirm that.
Okay, her father, that guy, they was rich. His grandfather was filthy rich. I don't watch them. Oh yeah, the concept, well not the concept of people. They're very rich. Like us, we very rich. They just took it all from us.
I just asked because like certain families over here, like you could pretty much pinpoint that so and so. Who's the guy that had the red flag with the eagle? Black eagle.
Black eagle. Wow, that's rough there.
It's not me. They're over there in around Asia Minor, Turkey, but you see when you do the history, it's not too hard to figure out that they're
Okay, they got this thing going on.
Some of the Christianity.
Yeah, they when you look it up, they kind of
yeah, they're in that neighborhood up there, not too far from Russia, right?
Yeah, but
over in the west side.
But some of it is migration. Some of it is migration, as far as for them migrating to there, not by nationality.
That's why she like black men. They showed all the men she liked. They showed about 13 black men with ass like this. I can show you mine right now, but you got your head turned. Anyway.
So let me finish this in verse 37.
I'm gonna listen to you.
It says, and it came to pass as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, that Adremelech and Sharezer, his son, smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia, or as you know, as back then it was Ararat. It says, and Eshodon, his son, reigned in his stead. So the Most High had, you know.
Would they change the name? Would they change the name?
What do you mean?
You said the name was Iran.
Ararat. Like yeah, Ararat. Like where it tells you in what is it? First Maccabees, where the
okay. You got to change the name.
You should say something?
Oh, it was the Albanian.
seen areas that like Asian
Around there,
So let me move. What do you get? The Bronx, New York. Let me see that again. Oh, okay. So they don't put that over here too.
So they have, so Armenia as a region is east of Turkey, north of, well, not north, but east of Turkey, right? And then where Syria and Iraq and Iran, it's like right up there in the middle of those locations. So it's in that region.
11 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You say right
Yeah.
there, like 11 o'clock.
Like 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So let's go back to First Maccabees 7:41 again. So it says again, O Lord, when they that were sent from the king of the Assyrians blasphemed, thine angel went out and smote 104 and 5,000 of them. Even so destroy thou this host before us this day, that the rest may know that he have spoken blasphemously against thy sanctuary, and judge thou him according to his wickedness. So Judas wanted the same thing that the Most High did to the Assyrians back then to do unto these Greeks at this day. It says, so the 13th day of the month Adar, the host joined battle. What's the number month of the month Adar? 12 month.
Okay, man, what's the day?
So the 13th day of the month Adar, the host joined battle. But Nicanor's host was discomfited, and he himself was first slain in the battle, right? So now the Most High, based on the prayer of Judas Maccabees, right, that he prayed before he went to war. So there's, before usually not even usually, before Israel goes to war, there's something that we always had to do. Not just pray, but there's something that we always had to do. It was a part of the law, and we read about it on another high holy day.
It gotta be pray to God.
I just said that. Outside of just praying to God, there's something else that had to be done before you go to war.
Well, it can't be nothing else but to pray to God.
Blow the horn. There you go.
God,
Numbers the 10th chapter. Gotta.
God. Oh Lord, right now.
There you go. Numbers the 10th chapter. Gotta blow that ram's horn, right? I'm gonna read it real quick. So this is Numbers 10, because sometimes it doesn't say it, and then there's other times that it does say it. So there's one time here in the Maccabees where it tells you that he went and blew the ram's horn. But it tells you in Numbers 10 and 9, it says, and if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your power, and ye shall be saved from your enemies, right? So that's part of the law. When you go to war, especially in your land against your enemies that oppresseth you, blow up that ram's horn, and the Most High will come and defend and fight for you, right? So in here, it's understood that that's what he did, because there's other scriptures. I think in First Maccabees, I want to say the 5th or the 4th chapter, that it tells you that he blew the ram's horn when they went to go join battle. Yeah, the 4th chapter and the 13th verse. It tells you that they blew their ram's horn when they went and engaged in war during the time of the feast of rededication of the altar. So now reading on again, verse 43. So the 13th day of the month Adar, the host joined battle. But Nicanor's host was discomfited, and he himself was first slain in the battle. Now when Nicanor's host saw that he was slain, they cast away their weapons and fled. Right? So after the captain of the host is defeated or killed, you now have no might in your hands, and your strength or your courage is gone, and they all left and fled. Right? It says, then they pursued after them a day's journey from Adasa unto Gazara, sounding an alarm after them with their trumpets. There it is. So as they're chasing them, as they're running a day's journey, they didn't stop chasing after them to go and take vengeance upon them, right? As they're going, the trumpets are being sounded. So you imagine that, you running from death and you hearing these trumpets, loud trumpets, and they still coming. They still coming. They blowing the trumpets. We coming. And they letting them know too, right? It says, verse 46, whereupon they came forth out of all the towns of Judea round about and closed them in, so that they, turning back upon them that pursued them, were all slain with the sword, and not one of them was left, right? So as the trumpet is being blown, Israel starts coming out from different areas, and they set up a blockade so that they can't pass through certain passages. So the only way they can go was back the way they came. And as they came back the way they came, they now met Judas and his army, and they went and slew every last one of them. Not one was left.
And what was it running on while he was running to see?
It was the rest of Israel.
Okay.
As they're blowing, it says Israel came from round about Judea and blocked them in. So it says in verse 47, afterwards they took the spoils and the prey and smote off Nicanor's head and his right hand, which he stretched out so proudly, and brought them away and hanged them up toward Jerusalem. So it tells you that they hung it up on a tower in Jerusalem for everybody to see.
Yeah.
Right? Reminds me of what's the guy name? Is it in Transylvania, where they used to say that along the path leading to his castle, he had the bodies or the
Dracula.
Yeah, he had the bodies or the carcasses or whatever
Dracula.
hanging up. Yeah, that's the one, Vlad. He would have them hanging up on the thing. Yeah.
So they lied to me again. This Dracula had everybody here looking that way to the left.
I don't know about looking to the left, but I know that that's what he had when you read the history. So, and initially what that would do is as you're going in or you're going on this path and you see these bodies and heads and things hanging up, you know, that'll have you kind of second guess or think twice if you want to mess with this guy. Yeah. This guy is, yeah. I don't want to be the next one up on that spike or the next one up on that pole, right? So you think twice. So that was the reason. So it was kind of like twofold, because jump to 2 Maccabees, the 15th chapter.
Okay,
2 Maccabees 15, and I'm going to start from 30.
You don't want me to read it?
You can read it.
Right here I go. Fine. 2 Maccabees 15:30. God, Shalom or something. And Judas, who was that? You ready? And Judas, who
you got to read louder so that those folks on the teleconference.
And Judas was ever the chief defender of the citizens, both in body and mind, and who continued his love toward his countrymen all his life, commanded to strike off Nicanor's head and his hands and his shoulders and bring them to Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was there, and he called them to his nation together and set the priest before the altar. He sent for them that were of the tower, and shewed them bow Nicolaon's head and his hand of that blasphemy, which with proud brag he had stretched out against the body temple of the temple of the Almighty. Where and when he had cut out the tongue of the ungodly Nicolaon, he commanded that they should give it by pieces unto the flour and hang up the reward of his madness before the temple.
So stop right there. I remember it was a long time ago when I saw they had online somebody cut somebody's head off. Right? It was before what do they call it? Before what's that group when they was cutting people's heads off? Online, but like not like Al Qaeda or something like that. Oh, yeah. When they used to sit them in the chair and they cut them off, they cut their head off. But this was before then. This was like over in somewhere in Eastern Europe that this guy had a hostage of some sort, and he was struggling, and he took a knife and he cut his head off his doggone body alive. So I'm watching this. I was like, Dax, like as soon as he stuck the knife in his throat, all the blood just started popping out, and he just going, and it was like he was drowning in water. Like, so I'm watching this. I'm like, yo, this is crazy, right? This is before like the internet was the internet. It's like you can go on like the Black Channel internet and see all kind of crazy stuff. So I'm seeing this, and then later on, you know, as I read the scriptures, and I'm like, yeah, they went and cut off Nicolaon's head. Reading the other one, they cut off his hand. They cut off his whole shoulder with his hand. So now you got this part of his whole arm with his shoulder, his head. Then now, as they get there, they cut his doggone tongue out. They're like, you're gonna feed it to the doggone scavengers, right? And you're like, yo, they cutting this guy's head, his arm, and his shoulder. But when you in battle, when you in war, like this is where that different spirit come on you. Like it's like you right now, you calm. But if something happened to someone, your loved ones, your kid, your family members, or whatever, there's an anger that just drives up in you. It ain't just coming from a certain place. The Most High sometimes will put that spirit on you where you now have a manliness about you that you may not just have on a normal occasion. So when I see this, and I'm like, okay, it's understandable, because when you seeing your people get killed and you seeing them left for dead, and you now fighting against another entity, a superpower that's coming to try to eradicate you, and they saying all these things that they want to do to you and the temple of the Most High, sometimes you say, okay, we're going to make our own statement, because these are the things they've done to us, but now we're going to show the world, but most importantly, we're about to show our people that you can never doubt the Most High, because that's what's going to be said as you read on. It was not just because they want to just cut his arm and shoulder. Some show people, look, we told you that the Most High was going to go and defend and fight for us. Now we're going to take that same man and use him as a sign to show that nobody should mess with Israel. So the same thing that Vlad the Impaler did, now they're about to do the same exact thing, right? What was your question?
The way the conversation goes, you're making me feel like that's something we're going to have to go through. But I say we stick to God. We don't have to go through that.
No, we're not going through this right now, but when you in war, no, but when you in war, like when you read in Isaiah, it tells no, but when you read in the scriptures, the Most High said that he's going to use Israel as his battle axe.
Right.
Right.
But I'll be an angel that's fighting with God.
Yeah, but even whether you're an angel or you a person here, you're going to be still with the Most High. The Most High can give men spiritual powers and gifts and different things. Yeah. You gonna have the Most High with you. That's the power. That's the main.
Have to worry about all that they're gonna do to me then.
No, you won't have to worry about it.
Right here with me.
Yeah, you ain't gonna have to worry about those things. Right. Yeah, don't be afraid. Don't worry about it. Most High, don't worry about it. Most High got you in that day. Yeah. So we still at Second Maccabees. Well, you was at Second Maccabees, 14, and we was at 33.
When we had again,
14:33. I mean 15:33. Second Maccabees.
The last page of the book.
Man, my outfit on. I'm gonna be a superhero then. That's right. Not Ultraman or Steve Race. That's right. All right. That's right. I looked at it last night. Yeah. I looked at it. No, he was good. And he pulled off. Ultraman. Steve Race.
All right, so we had Second Maccabees 15:33.
Right. Ooh, you scared me for a bit. We want to read that.
33.
And shoot them about that thing again.
Second Maccabees 15:33.
Okay. And when he had cut out the tongue of the ungodly Nicanor, he commanded that they should give it by pieces unto the plow and hang up the reward of his madness before the temple.
Mm-hmm.
So every man prays towards the heaven and glorious Lord, saying, blessed be he that has kept his own place undefiled.
Mm-hmm.
He hanged also Nicanor's head upon the tower, as evidence and manifest signs to all of the help of the Lord.
Right. So they hanged his head up on the tower as an evident and manifest sign unto all of the help of the Most High. Right. So when you saw that man's head sitting up there, you remember anew where it came from, who put it up there, even though Judas and them went and fought, but it was the Most High that allowed that to happen. Right. Even Judas himself had to pray to the Most High that he would come and aid them in the time to bring them down from their campaign. All right, you can stop there. And let's go back. He started at verse 30. Come on.
Okay, where we go there now?
Back to 47. So First Maccabees 7:47.
Oh, here I thought there. Oh, sorry, Lamont.
Who? Lamont. Oh.
Lamont. Okay, oh, hey, Shabbat. Oh, man. Hey, come on, man, for 7
and 47. So it says afterwards, they took the spoils, right? So whatever they came with as an army, because usually sometimes they travel with silver and gold and things of that nature. When you read further in Second Maccabees, you find out that that's what they needed to do to pay off the soldiers to keep them fighting. You had to pay them with silver and gold. It said they took the spoils and the prey and smote off Nicanor's head and his right hand, which he stretched out so proudly, and brought them away and hanged them up toward Jerusalem. For this cause the people rejoiced greatly, and they kept that day a day of great gladness. Moreover, they ordained to keep yearly this day, being the 13th of Adar. Thus the land of Judah was in a rest a little while, right? So for a little while, little season, short time period, everything was calm and peaceful within Judea. And then until the next campaign came from the Greeks, then the Romans, all the way up until where we are today, right? So this is why we keep the day of Judas. Some will call it the destruction of Nicanor. But it's the same thing as centered around us keeping a memorial to commemorate what was done back then during this time in the 115th plus year of the Grecian Empire.
This was a day that we agreed to keep.
Right.
The Lord didn't say keep it.
Right. Right.
What would be? It'd be a whole lot different than
What's that?
Well, we agreed to make it. We
Right.
agreed.
The
not
priest,
Lord.
because remember, the priest, like when you read in the gospel, when two or more are gathered together in my name, I am in the midst. And whatever things that you agree upon or whatever things you put in motion, then it's solidified, right? I forget how it's quoted verbatim, but when Israel comes together and says in righteousness to put something as a continue that we do, then that's when it becomes ordained. Now, remember, this is the same thing that they did for the first, the feast of the dedication of the altar, right? And we find Yahushua himself keeping a memorial of the feast of the rededication of the altar, because it wasn't something that the Most High said, thou shalt keep, like you read in Leviticus 23, but the priests themselves came together at that time and did the same thing. So that's why we keep it, because that's a good point, because you have some that say, well, the Most High didn't say thou shalt, so we don't do outside of anything the Most High say thou shalt. But we see the same observance by Yahushua for something that the priest did during the time of the Maccabees.
So he recognized.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like Yahushua himself said. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can do greater things, even greater things than I did. So what Judas did was one of the great things that we should honor. Just like Yahushua said, great things that you have faith as small as a mustard. Right. So he did something great in the name, in the name of the Most High, for the Most High. So that's one of the good things that he did that we can honor. Is Yahushua.
Right. So what I was quoting was Matthew 18:19, where it says, again, I say unto you that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything they shall ask, or it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I'm in the midst of them. Right. So when we come in the spirit to agree on certain things as it pertains to earth, what happens here on earth, it is now righteously ordained with the Most High. All right. So with that, we want to conclude this service, commemorating Judas and those who were with him, because he didn't fight it alone, but we want to commemorate Judas as the captain of the host back then, and also give most gracious gratitude to the Most High for aiding him in his campaign to fight and defend Israel back then, because he himself knew that he couldn't do it alone. He went and prayed to the Most High, right? We always have to remember to ask the Most High for help in any decision making that we do that may be of conflict. Quite.
Yeah, just like you might hear other people might say, oh, we shouldn't be keeping these days. And I mean, that's something great that happened, you know, and we keep it. Just like we have Martin Luther King's Day, which is, you know, he did something great, but according to this system,
right.
But people still keep it and they make it a big thing.
Right.
So in other words, if we should keep anything, we should keep these days.
Right.
Or something great happened.
Right.
Right. Okay, that's good.
Exactly.
That's
right. And righteousness.
So that last one.
Yeah, subjective, right? Because righteousness adds context. Because what's righteousness mean to the Most High as opposed to the worldly frame of mind when it comes to righteousness. All right. Yeah, yeah. All right, so with that, we're going to set up the closing prayers, bless the food, and break bread, enjoy company with each other, as it says in Psalms 133:1, when we come together on glorious and righteous days. So with that, we're going to say Shalom, say for the closing prayers, Ashar, Yawom Yahweh, or happy feast of the Kag, Yawom feast of Day of Judas. This is a day that we will feast, so you can prepare food today. And then tomorrow, sundown, we'll begin the first day of Purim. So this is like the brother said, a 3-day festival weekend to commemorate righteous acts that was done by our ancestors to defend and save the nation from onslaught. All right, so Shalom Yashrella. Stay tuned for prayers.
Amen.
Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Parya Hagapin, Thawada Amun, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ath, Yasha Allah. I bind upon you, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Abakushai, Shammai, Lanawa, Aitha, Yum Yun, Aitha, Shalat, Maika Allah, Waha Allah Hayim, Tazwadakim, La, Shema Ayah, Barak, Rapah, Magun, Wahakaziyat, Bunya, Yasha Allah, Washalat, Lanawa, Rabim, Kakama, Rabim, Da'ith, Rabim, Bayana, Rabim, Sabalanwa, Rabim, Amawan, Rabim, Aqua, Rabim, Ahabim, Rabim, Haganah, Rakhanaya, Wasalat, Ko, Kata Ayemnawa, Laha Akim, Wa Akiwa, Wa Yasha'ala, from Yad, Wa Iwalam, Bahasham, Yahawashai, the water, Aman. English translation, Yahweh, in the name of Yahawashai, please enter to us now, right now, send Michael and the righteous powers or angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection. And forgive all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahweh, I thank you. So be it. Four corners prayer. Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Raknawa, Wayasha'ala, Wabati Asaparim, Shema, Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, all right, blessing for the food. All right. Yahweh, Kadawal, Bahasham, Adawanya, Yahweh Shai, Babakusha, Barak, Ma'akol, Yanawa, Shatayawa, Yanawa, Yayun, Yanawa, Lakam, Yanawa, Chakarai, Yanawa, Zakad, Shol, Yawum, Yahawada, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, for water, Aman. All right. Shalom Yashra'Allah. Enjoy the feast. Happy day of Judas. Shalom.
Shalom.
Akim circle up.